I mean, like, that's stuff that I just like never would have thought about. Welcome back! Thanks for coming back to my channel, guys. I am going to talk to you today about why I think that the average German would probably hate to live in my apartment complex. So one of the biggest things that I learned about Germans and German culture, and I'm speaking very generally here, guys, like I do in all of my videos, and it's something that I honestly didn't know anything about, didn't even think about it until I lived in Germany, is just how much more value I think that the average German places on privacy compared to the average American. There are so many laws in Germany, and really strict laws in Germany, that protect an individual's right to privacy, from what you post on Facebook to what sort of information you have to disclose to a potential future landlord if you're applying to live in an apartment somewhere, to what sort of data the government can collect on you. And it is so different compared to what you experience in the US. And I'm sure with my last little point there, you might be thinking about the Patriot Act, but I'm gonna speak just a little bit more informally about it. For example, in the US, I can go to the courthouse and look up a lot of information about someone as part of just public record. My hometown newspaper and many newspapers across the country publish a daily or weekly basically log or record of everyone in the local area that was arrested that week or that day. Like legit information, like not kidding, unless they're a minor. It will have their full name, it'll have their age, it'll have their private residency, like their address listed, and it will have a detailed account of the transgression. And I feel like that would blow the minds of Germans to know that, and is probably blowing the minds of some Germans right now watching this, because it is so night and day from what you would experience in Germany. And I think that there are a lot of like cultural aspects and norms that accompany these laws, as that often happens. And my boyfriend and I, we talk about like differences between Germany and the US all the time. I lived in Germany with him, and I was always pointing out, you know, stuff that I thought was different, strange, weird, new. And now that he's here with me in the US, he's always pointing out like, hey, you would never see that in Germany, or like, that's really weird. And it's really fun to point out these differences. But I think that it's way more interesting to try to figure out like why those differences exist, and not just like, oh, it's because blah blah blah, like very, you know, simplistic answers, but like trying to trace it back to like root values and the differences that we have in the US compared to Germany. I find it fascinating. I mean, you can think about it, like I think everyone knows our gun laws between the US and Germany are, like I said, night and day. They couldn't be more different. And why is that? Trying to figure out like the cultural reasons behind it, not just like the legislative reasons behind it. So anyway, it's been amazing to me how many somewhat seemingly minor differences or bigger differences that we've identified that we think trace back to this core I guess, divergent thought process that Germans have towards privacy compared to Americans. And yeah, when I'm walking around, I think about this stuff, guys. And when I'm walking around my apartment complex, I've often thought like, man, a German would probably hate to live here, because I give up a lot of my privacy because of living in this apartment complex. And I don't want to try to make like a blanket statement that every German would hate living here. My boyfriend lives here and he likes it. But I think that there are a lot of features of this apartment building that just wouldn't fly in Germany, or at least not for many years to come, or with like very, I don't know, distaste towards it. So the first thing I'll talk about, we'll just get right into it, is I don't have a normal key. I don't have I don't have a normal key, right? I have what's called a key fob, or just a fob, and I'm sure we all are aware how this works, but it's electronic. And this is how I gain access to everything in the apartment building. So it's how I get into the building itself. It's how I'm able to use the elevator. I have to have the key fob to be able to get into any of the facilities in this apartment complex. Like if I want to go to the gym, I have to use the key fob. If I want to go out to this little community garden that we have, I have to use the key fob to open the door. If I want to go to the rooftop, I have to have the key fob to let me out onto it. I have to have the key fob, obviously, to get into my apartment. This key fob gets me everywhere, and I think it's pretty obvious when I say that it leaves an electronic signature everywhere I go. So essentially, the apartment company could trace or track my every movement throughout the apartment building through my key fob. They can see exactly what time I go to the gym. They can see how long I spend on the rooftop. They can figure out how late I came home last night, and how long it takes me to get from the front door of the apartment building and into my apartment. And they can figure all of that out. Which is, when you think about it, a lot of information that you can garner about someone. And then to go along with that, we have a parking garage underneath the apartment complex underground. And to gain access to the parking garage, you have to have a fob. So we have like a public parking spot area, and then there's the residents only private parking area. And so whenever I want to park in the parking garage, I have like this fob on my windshield. I roll up to the gate, and there is a sensor that reads that fob and lifts the gate and grants me access to the parking garage. And then when I leave, of course, it's the same exact process to let me out. So when you think about it, again, that electronic signature is being left, and you can see exactly, you know, what time I parked my car, how long, how many days it was parked in the complex before I took it out again. You could figure out if I'm on vacation. I mean, like, if it's like, well, she left at 8:20 on a Friday and she hasn't been back, it's been 3 days, and she hasn't used her key fob to get into her apartment at all, I think it's pretty safe to say that she's on vacation for the past 3 days, or out of town at least. So it's a lot of information, a lot of privacy, if you will, that I'm like giving up by having all of these electronic features. So another feature of this apartment complex is that we have a 24-hour concierge. Now I know that sounds really fancy, but let me just tell you that most of the apartment complexes that I've seen in DC have 24-hour concierges. I think that, for one, it's just, you know, like all the apartment complexes are trying to like one up each other with what amenities they provide. But also I think it's like a big security feature to have a concierge, and I think we are all well aware that DC is not necessarily the safest place to live. So we have a concierge, and I think there's 3 of them that work here that I've seen. And as like police sirens go by, I hope you guys can hear that. Yay, living in DC. So anyway, we have 3 women who work this concierge job, and I mean, they do all sorts of stuff. They field any questions you have, they help you fill out any maintenance requests you have, any emergencies you have. They help you with your mail. They do all sorts of stuff. But I mean, they're there 24/7, and they see you. They see you coming in from a late night out. They see you leaving to go to work. They see what guests you're bringing in. And speaking of guests, like if I want to have some friends over, I can't even actually really buzz them in myself. I can get them into the apartment building like initially, but like I said, you have to have a key fob in order to use the elevator. So for them to get to my floor, to get to my apartment, I either have to go down and physically greet them, or I let the concierge know to let them into the elevator to send them up to my floor. So they see all of that. And I think that that would kind of really freak some people out, which I get, I understand. But on the other side, I just don't care. Like I put myself in that position. Like if I were the concierge, how much I would care about people's individual lives. And I'm just like, I don't know, I've got too much going on. Like I just don't care that I see Jim from apartment, 375 coming home late at 3 in the morning for the 5th night in a row. Like I just don't care. I'm there to do a job and I'm just doing my job. But yeah, I can understand why some people would be a little sketched out about it. And then another feature about this apartment complex is that we have an Amazon hub. And I think that these are becoming more popular. Especially Amazon, I feel like is taking over the world right now. But in case you've never seen one, here at least it's like a room and it's full of lockers and it has a computer with a screen. And I will get a text message from Amazon Hub, which is a program that my apartment complex uses, telling me like, hey, you have a package that you need to pick up, and it will give me a PIN code. So I take that PIN code, I go to the screen, I enter it in, and the locker will pop open and I'm able to retrieve my package, which I think is very convenient, very Amazon-like. But again, you can get a lot of information about someone with this sort of feature. So my apartment complex, and of course Amazon, but I think Amazon knows everything about everything I buy because I use it so much. But my apartment complex knows like when I get packages, how many packages I get. They even know like what size of packages because the lockers are all different sizes. And they can know exactly when I pick my packages up. So it's, again, just more and more privacy that I'm giving up by living here in the name of, I guess you can say, convenience. And one more thing is the electricity bill. So I don't want to get into the differences between utility billing in the US and Germany because honestly I could talk all day about it and it would probably turn into more of a rant than anything. So I will say in very, very, very simple terms, and guys, please feel free to look it up on your own because I'm not going to get into the details. But in Germany, once a year, someone will come to your apartment building and read your electricity meter, figure out your usage, and bill you appropriately. That's how they do electric billing in Germany. In the US, we have smart meters, so nobody's going anywhere to read your electricity meter. It's all done electronically. I took that for granted, I would say, until I lived in Germany and understood how they do it over there compared to here. And I just couldn't understand why they would do it that way in Germany and not just have smart meters. Like, it seems far more convenient. And then I had someone, well, a few people, but one person in particular comment on one of my videos where I talked about this, saying that they would not want to have a smart meter because then it takes away some of their privacy. The electric company could see when they're turning their lights on at 2 in the morning and could pick up on some of their habits and see that they watch TV all night or whatever based on like the frequency and how much electricity a TV uses. And I mean, like, that's stuff that I just like never would have thought about. So when I got my electric bill here for the first time, I was like, oh boy, like just remembering, these comments that I read and these discussions I had, because it is so incredibly detailed, guys. Like it has a daily reading of how much electricity I used. And not only that, but I can actually go to the website, to my account, and I can see what my electricity usage is by the hour. So that's how like accurate and constant the feed of information between like my electricity usage and like my meter and the electric company. I really like it because I can see exactly how much electricity I'm using. If there's some sort of error, let's say like my dishwasher mechanism is messed up and for whatever reason, like it's using a lot of electricity or something. I'm not really coming up with the greatest example, but you guys know where I'm going with it. and I have like a skyrocket of electricity usage that's like out of trend from what I normally use, I'm able to rectify that right away, whereas you can't do that in Germany. But I can understand why it would be a little bothersome to someone with this idea that the electric company could basically collect information about you through your electricity usage. So yeah, I thought that all of this was kind of an interesting topic to explore with you guys and talk to you all about. I hope that you learned something, or maybe just view it differently, or maybe you think this is all silly. But let me know what you think in the comments. Like, is my apartment complex weird to you? Would it freak you out to have a 24-hour concierge? Again, like for the sake of security, but you know, you're also having someone basically like observing you coming in and out. Would you be weirded out by the idea of having a key fob? Like, I'm just really curious what you guys think. So let me know in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, guys, just go ahead and click subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. It lets you know as soon as I post a video. Thank you so much to all of my patrons. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate the support you've given me, and it's because of you guys that I'm finally buying an LED light so I don't have to rely on the sun anymore and its erratic behavior, especially with like this Hurricane Florence weirdness going on right now. So thank you to my patrons, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! Are you on Instagram? If you are, you should check out my Instagram account, Kelly Does Her Thing, where I post some fun photos to show you just a little bit about my life.